Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a beautiful sunny Friday afternoon, first week of December 2025. Last night was the supermoon, full moon. My mother always taught me, she was somewhat of a meteorologist, lived to be in her mid-90s, that the weather on or around the full moon would dictate the next 3 weeks predominantly what you're going to get for weather. I hope cold and windy is not part of it, but I'll take the sun and lack of precipitation. But we had snow earlier in the week, and now we're good till sometime next week. So that's your weather report. You're welcome. Some people pay extra for that. Today we're going to catch up on what I've been doing to the 31 Ford Model A Tudor, T-U-D-O-R. I have been jumping around when time and desire allowed. And one thing I just did this morning while waiting on a few things, I had a few minutes, not enough to dive into anything too heavy, but I've been thinking about the B&M Pro Stick. I couldn't remember the name of their version of the Hurst quarter stick, which came out first, I believe. B&M kind of copied with a Pro Stick. They look very similar in the dark. If you were running it, I don't think you could tell the difference. They both share. When you go to neutral, there's a reverse lockout, and there's another additional lever that sticks up out of the cover, or if you have a cover, and you got to take your hand off the big shifter and touch it one time, and then you can have reverse or park. The Pro Stick, I'm going to get it wrong. I got a first Pro Stick I've ever had. I've always had a quarter stick. I got a whole container full of them outside. If you look at the picture, just like the quarter stick, on the little blade, it looks like a blade on the B&M shifter, sticking out of the cover. It's actually in the shape of an R for reverse, but it's supposed to have a little, knob on the side, or a button, or whatever you want to call it, a little small shaft, pistol grip, whatever you want to call it. And that is not there. So this morning, I've been dreaming this up since I moved the shifter last week. First time I sat and played with it and everything. So this is nothing but a piece of 5/8 aluminum rod. And I drilled and tapped a 1/4 inch hole. And I had this really cool 12-point gold bolt, and I had a gold AN washer. AN washers are, the OD is smaller, they fit really tight, so they're nice. And the machine work, and this is I'm gonna have this mounted this direction, not a T-handle, but I guess some call it a pistol grip, whatever you wanna call it. I determined I took the ball off, and there was an adapter, but the stock itself is 1/2 inch fine thread. So again, a 4-inch piece of 1 1/8 aluminum. I keep this just for making T-handles and stuff. I have it in different sizes, but this seems about right. I can still squeeze the rig for shifting it. And again, I just cut it to length, chamfered both ends, smoothed them off, squared them up. Just took the triangle carbide cutter, just ran it into the same depth on both sides, about 1/3 of the way down, just because they kind of match, junior and senior. And now we're going to stick those on the shifter, and I think I'm going to like it, but we'll find out in a few minutes. So let me go stick it on there, and we'll check it out. And all the other things I did to the car in the last few days. I've been jumping around again where time and desire allow. Well, the heater kicked on, and I'll go ahead and shoot this clip, and if it's too loud, I'll redo it. If I leave it in, I guess it's okay. Things went seriously wrong here in the hot rod shop, as sometimes happens. When I took the original knob and lock nut off, it had quite a bit of copper-colored never-sees on it, and I wiped it all off because I'm not a big fan of the stuff. And first I tried this with I had a gold 1/2 inch fine thread lock nut, regular nut, and I found this gold AN washer. but the normal size nut was too tall. I should have reached for the original lock nut. This black, there's two flats on it. You probably can't see it, but I didn't. I just figured I'd try it with just the washer. And remember, I had wiped the copper colored Never Seas off. Well, my thread, which was dry, I cleaned it with brake clean to get all the tapping oil and stuff out of it. And this was dry. What do you suppose happened about here? It's probably all the way on, but I can't get it back off. And now my washer's loose. I mean, it'll function fine where it is. If this vibrates, I suppose I can try to cut that off. It's gonna bug me. My alternative is to grab it with a pair of vice grips down here and force it off and try to fix the threads. Probably wreck the shifter, who knows. That might be permanently attached. Fortunately, the way it sits, it clears the cover. I could take the cover off. And it reminded me to put a little bit of Never Seas on my fancy 1/4 inch 12-point headed bolt over here. So that's the downside. The positive side is it works. So the shifter's a little quirky. I'm a 1/4 stick guy, Hurst. This Pro Stick is kind of spooky. So I'm in neutral right now. And you can pull it to second if you're not careful. So you gotta be careful. This is a reverse manual valve body. So you put it in first. Again, you're shifting away from neutral. And now, when you're in first, you take off. You can whale second, and you can't go past second. To get high gear, you gotta squeeze the handle. That part's fine. Going this way, it'll go back to first until you squeeze the handle, and then you're in neutral. Still can't go past neutral until you touch my little button. Then you got reverse and park. From park, you can go pretty much all the way back, which is fine if you had a forward pattern valve body. That would be low gear, but for me, that'd be high gear. So it's a reverse pattern shifter. Let's just try it the other way. Let's just say it was a normal transmission. If I squeeze, nope, it goes all the way. So it's definitely a reverse pattern shifter. You just got to get used to the fact that the gates aren't guiding you all the time. But I drove it before and had very little trouble other than having to go like that. Now I got a bigger target. It was just that little blade sticking out of there. This was already notched to clear it. I didn't check that. I'm glad it is. But I can still get the small one off. And this one, yep. This original lock nut would be just about right. So if I can get it off without wrecking it, I guess I could machine down the part I ruined, and this wouldn't be the same size, wouldn't be the end of the world. Very little chance I'm going to get it off unharmed. Whether I try it or not, I'll have to let you know. So yeah, that's what happened here in the cab. I got some, don't mind the wiring, that's all stuff he removed, had the ignition box and such, but I did move the shifter ahead. This is a air fuel gauge. I don't have all the pieces for it, but it does have a GPS speedometer, water volts, and oil. What else do you need? And a backup camera. And a 31 Ford. I'm sure they thought of that back at 31. Speaking of weirdness and the backup camera, I found these 1931 Maine license plates on eBay and bought them. More money than I really wanted to pay, but I kind of like running old plates. You can run your manufacturer plates. I actually register it with regular plates and put them under the seat. Worst case scenario, I got to change them on the side of the road, but I'm not the demographic that's probably going to get hassled a whole lot, but if it happens, I'll deal with it then. I've been running them on the 55 Chevy for 3 years now, and cops wave at you. They see an old white-haired guy driving an old car, again, not causing a lot of trouble. So, in mounting the plate, it had a normal license plate on it, probably a street rod plate. Old plates, the holes don't line up, so I had to do a little fudging, and then I had to mount the camera for the backup camera. onto the plate itself as well. So if you live up here in anywhere where they salt the roads or treat them with some kind of chemical for ice, you have to have stainless steel screws. So that's what I use. I don't put a license plate on without them. A lot of our vehicles up here just have rust drooling down the plate because the manufacturer gives you some cheap metal bolts. And then I had to take a little, I wish I had flat black, but it was gloss, and just paint the heads, because otherwise it stands out like this license plate light. I probably should have painted that too. But sometimes you get lost in the details that, whether they matter or not. Well, this is the better of the two plates, and I put it on the back. More wiring hanging down. Don't worry, I'm waiting to make the determination whether I leave the EFI or not as to how much wiring I'm going to need to do. Looking toward the future, I hear the sound of the UPS truck. That's always good. Disregard all the wiring hanging once again. I haven't got to that stage of the operation. It's going to hinge on, if I leave the EFI on it or not. I'm still on the fence. So under the hood so far, after getting the engine all bolted down, I went out to the storage container and I had a box of radiator hoses, and it seems to be a theme. If it was only about a ½ inch longer, it would have been better, but I found an upper and lower hose that fit. The lower fit pretty damn good. The upper one is okay. I had a center-facing water neck that took an O-ring. I put a new 180-degree thermostat in it. And that's what we'll start with. That's what we'll try. I haven't gone over this overflow setup. I have a few of these anyway, but all in all, cooling system's close. Other than I need to put in the sender for the gauge on the dash. I currently have the Holley sender right there. Again, all depends on decisions. This car has roadster, if you will, style, or dragster style stainless headers, and they're round port. If you remember a year ago, last week, when I bought these AFR heads, these particular airflow research heads are an offshore casting that they machine here in America with brand name American parts, got pack springs, got all kinds of good stuff. They just wanted to be in the price competitive market. A telltale sign of the offshore casting that a lot of people use is a square exhaust port, which is what GM had on a lot of their old 60s and 70s heads. This head has raised exhaust ports. It has giant intake ports. It's a big head. Not the most efficient. When you see the other casting, Flowtech, etc., they have a copy of the AFR head. A D port or a round exhaust port is your clue. So if you have a D port or round exhaust port, you have a more efficient head than the big block Chevy exhaust port that's square. Did I say rectangle before? It's square. So I went in search of, and this, once again, I mentioned this a few years ago, and every time I go to work on my small block Chevy projects, the world's most popular engine, and there's certain areas where things don't fit together. Here's a good example. I got a set of big block Chevy headers. I got a set of big block Chevy heads. We got a square peg in a round hole. But I found these copper gaskets. Had to do a little hunting. So I had 3 or 4 different variety of gaskets. I like copper because you can reuse them. They typically don't leak, and they're worth the extra money. And I held these up to the round exhaust ports that are outside in the box. Obviously, they fit the head just fine. I think these are going to work. So this is going to be my first choice for an exhaust gasket. Last night, still thinking I'm going to use the EFI. I'm trying to determine the plumbing. And I don't like this Y. It's a -888Y, all male. And they make them that these are straight, they're parallel. And then it would have that connection. So I'm trying to get to the regulator without running 4 hoses to the regulator, because carburetors are no problem. A 4-port regulator. I have one for the carburetors, 4 ports, -6. I also have fittings to reduce this to -6. that'll go in here and run -6 hoses down to something. So I don't like this currently. I don't mind. I like this. I don't like where it looks like an ocean wave because I'm fussy about things like that. And I'm fussy about fasteners, and this messed up my shifter too because I don't like Never-Seez. So hey, I'm a contradiction. But you fight your demons and you put up with your stuff, I guess. Regardless of carburetors or EFI, what I need to do sooner than later, I have a clamp right here on the fuel line. The tank has fuel in it. I don't know how much. Still has an electric Holly pump hooked up. I need to get a longer hose into a bucket, turn that pump on, pump that tank dry, because I have a whole bunch of PTFE hose coming in both 6 and 8 and 10. So we're going to do some plumbing. I just don't know what I'm going to do yet. I still have not found an affordable air cleaner for a 4500 size Dominator carburetor or throttle body. The ones I found that were K&N for 160 bucks a piece are a 9-inch air cleaner. In order to not hit in the middle, it'd have to be about 8 3/4. So unless I'm gonna take a hammer to them, or it's just not gonna work. So I wish you could just buy a nice air cleaner that kind of about this size with a filter element in the top. That's all I really want. Hell, I'd use these for a top if I had a filter that would work and a base. So I haven't gone past making something. I'm not prepared to put that much effort into it yet, but I can't drive it without air cleaners. So if we get to that point, especially if it starts and runs good, we're gonna have to find something. I know Elky Digger or might have been Good Vibrations. One of those had another option, $500-600, and not some stupid fake thing like we already talked about with butterflies. I mean, a blower scoop is cool. A blower scoop with filters, better. Gotta have filters. But again, that's in the near future, but it's still a future problem. We're not ready yet for that. I'm still pretty upset with myself for making a classic mistake and ruining the part that I made this morning, my shifter knob or handle, whatever you want to call it. I guess I just created an opportunity to fix something or leave it. I'm not a good leave it type of guy. I'm trying to change my ways a little bit if it's not super important. But you know what's going to happen? That little wash is probably going to vibrate the whole time just to remind me of the mistake I made. So that'll happen. So Friday afternoon, almost evening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Take her easy.